topic, clean water. Able Toastmaster, Mr. Will Bowker.
Mr. Toastmaster, gentlemen, we drink water very merrily, but we don't really know where it's been. To clean water, we have to first remove undesirable chemicals. And undesirable chemicals are bleach, salt, your bathroom soap, your dishwasher soap, your laundry soap, pesticides, and many other forms of undesirable chemicals. Then you need to remove your biological contaminants. The biological contaminants are microbes, bacteria, viruses, protozoa, and parasites. Then the third step is to remove what they call suspended solids. Now, suspended solids are anything that is in suspense in this liquid, and they are human waste and animal waste. And then you've got to remove the gases, and many of the problems resolve around nitrogen. Nitrogen has to be removed from this water that we're trying to clean. Then at the bottom of the list, you've got to get rid of the algae, like we get in our swimming pools, and the fungi. Right now we have to first identify those things as being undesirable. Now, water can be cleared in many different ways. It can be cleared for industrial use, where they do a very low-level form of cleaning, and it's a very moderate form of purification. Then there's the water for human consumption, and this is operated between safe limits. The state says it must be between this and between that. And as long as it lies somewhere between those two, then we as the public and the government are happy. Then there are the waters required for chemical applications. And for chemical applications, the water needs to have a high level of cleanliness. And then to go one step further, you've got to then have the water required for medical and pharmacological use. And this has to be right at the top for purity. It becomes a very expensive form of water. Now, what are the standards? As I've said, the government sets the standards. And these contaminants, let's identify these contaminants. And the solution to that is they cannot be visually identified. You can't look at the water and see the contaminants. Nor can they be eliminated by boiling. Boiling water does not eliminate the contaminants. So the next time Mother Granby tells you to boil the water, tell her she's wasting her time. So we all drink spring water. Spring water is a total anomaly. There are not enough springs in the world to supply the spring water for which we pay a fortune in the supermarkets. Spring water is just absolute nonsense. It has chemicals and microbiological contents. So next time you buy some spring water, remember that. It has also been shown that spring water promotes rotting of teeth. Now let's look at how we're going to treat this water. We start off by finding a source of water, and then we take this water and we pump it to holding tanks. And these holding tanks are generally speaking made of concrete, and they are covered up to avoid further pollution. Then they go through a process of screening. Screening means they remove debris. And that debris can be sticks, leaves. Remember, this water could come out of the Arpies River or the Yipsco. They remove sticks, leaves, rubbish, dead animals, fish, and human fetuses. They remove that by screening. Then someone comes along and adjusts the pH. Now the pH is very vague, as long as it's something between 6.8 and 7,2, everybody's happy. Those of us who have swimming pools know that. They put in either acid or they put in soda ash. Then we go through a process of what they call coagulation and flocculation. Coagulation is when they put alum, or if you like aluminium sulfate, into the water. This has an effect on the ions, and then through the Brownian process, the ions will separate positive and negative, and it removes clay, silt, algae, viruses, protozoa, organic and inorganic materials. Doesn't remove them, it isolates them. So that is the process of coagulation. That water then goes into a tank, and because of the Brownian effect, certain parts fall to the bottom. And those are the things that we don't want, the things to which I've referred. And then that takes a few seconds to happen. And then they go through the flocculation process where the water is put into a tank. And all the rubbish and the debris sinks to the bottom. And all the clean water comes to the top. And then there's a lip on the side of the tank, and the water then goes over the lip because it's seen to be clear. Flocculation takes about 30 minutes, and the coagulation takes only a few seconds. Then the water goes to a sedimentation tank, a tank where all the set of floc is allowed to sink to the bottom and the sludge is removed. How clean do we want our water to be? Because from here you can do several other things. You can go through membrane filtration, which is used to filter drinking water. It is also used by the sewage industry, and it is also used for making beverages. Cheers. Then you can go to another form of filtration, which is filtration by when they remove toxic gases, toxic ions. They take out lead, they take out the mercury, they take out arsenic. So at least now you know that the water that you're drinking doesn't have arsenic. Then it goes through a disinfection process where they add chlorine to a certain level, like we do for our swimming pools, and it eliminates microorganisms, viruses, bacteria, salmonella, cholera, protozoa, and the other elements that still have survived in the water. There are other disinfection processes. You can go through ozone disinfection, you can go to ultraviolet disinfection, you can go to soda disinfection. Boiling makes no difference at all. Granular carbon filters are very expensive. Distillation doesn't work. It only makes the water 99% clear. Revenue of osmosis is another process, very expensive and used for the pharmacological sessions. Desalination for seawater is very expensive. Gentlemen, in summary, let me say, there is no solution. It is a compromise. If they add calcium to the water becomes hard, it will not easily lather, and it leaves fur buildup in our kettles and our irons. If you don't add carbon, add calcium, then you get weak teeth and weak bones. Take your choice. Do you want fur in your kettle, or do you want to have weak bones? Then they remove all the viruses and germs. If they remove all the viruses and germs, your body never builds up antibodies. So take that path and be prepared to get sick because you've got no antibodies. Switch to bottled water. As I've said to you, that leads to bad teeth, and that has been proved scientifically. Astronauts in space do not have a water supply. All their waste material goes through a process and comes out of a drinking tap the next day. And it's seen to be purer than the water we drink on Earth. So the next time, gentlemen, when you're finished at the toilet, turn around and look in the toilet and say to the contents of the toilet, adieu, farewell, I'll see you soon.